Here we go. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. Welcome to my 7th daily number 7. It's November the 30th, 2017. I wanted to welcome any of you who've never watched me before. I keep getting indications watching my YouTube analytics that more of you are finding me, more people are finding my channel. If you're new to the channel and you like it, go over here. There's a subscribe button, I believe it is. Click on that and follow my exploits. I think I'm up to 76 subscribers. I gained one yesterday. 76. Fantastic. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up and then check out all my videos. I have over 80 videos now on YouTube. And they cover all kinds of things. Traveling, of course, because traveling with Bruce, right? So you like a good story. Now my dailies are in a playlist. I just keep expanding it all the time. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about how media has changed kind of in my lifetime. It's changed in all of our lifetimes. I mean, if you're only 30 years old, in the last 10 years, what you've seen happen is unbelievable. If you're 45 years old, what you've seen happen in the last 25 years since you've been an adult, unbelievable. I'm 62. What I've seen happen since I was 10 years old to today, incredible, unthinkable. And of course, going back to older generations, anyone that's 80, my God, if you're 80 years old, you were born in what would that be, 1937 from then? Oh my goodness, what a change. But let me tell you, in the 60s when I was a kid watching TV all the time, there were 3 US television networks. There was ABC, NBC, and CBS. And in Canada, we had the luxury of a couple of local stations and national stations. So in Canada, we had the CBC, National Broadcasting Corporation, out of Toronto, covering all of Canada. CTV, which is I think called the Canadian Television Network, which is sort of an independent station, but it went national. By 65, it was national. And then in the Ontario area where I was growing up, we had Hamilton, CHCH Television. We were watching that all the time. There's a lot of cartoons on there and local programming, and then the odd US show that would be rebroadcast into Canada. So I had six television stations when I was a kid to watch. And of course in Canada, Saturday night was hockey night in Canada. So, everything stops when we watch hockey night in Canada. Toronto Maple Leafs out of Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens, or the Montreal Canadiens. And that would be our extent of TV. Changed in the 70s and the 80s, as we all know. In the 90s, unbelievable changes, and now there are hundreds of television stations and cable stations, and you name it. I mean, it's endless. But I wanted to tell you a story about television and Disneyland, the Walt Disney Company. I want to kind of put the two together for you and give you a little history. Some of you may know this, a lot of you may not. Back in the 50s, from like the 40s and 50s, Walt Disney Company was making the movies, of course, Mickey Mouse movies, Donald Duck and Pluto, and then they made the Cinderella movies, the Bambi movies, Fantasia, all these great products, all these great, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, fantastic movies. But by 1950 or so, it became evident that television needed to air Disney product on television, and Disney figured it out too, that if they could get a television program on programming on television, they could expand their brand. And Walt Disney was a visionary. He figured it out that the two could work like this. And in the early days, ABC Television was the small junior network, the number 3 network. They were behind CBS and NBC. They were desperately trying to get viewers, trying to grow their brand, and they made a deal with Walt Disney to air a television show on I think it was Sunday nights for Disney. And Walt Disney wanted to build Disneyland, and he had envisioned it, had drawn it out, and for years had studied an idea of a theme park, and he wanted to build Disneyland in Anaheim, California. But he needed about $15 million in those days. So in 1954-55, $15 million doesn't sound like a lot today, but if you multiply it by a factor of 9, which is inflation adjusted, we're talking about the building of a park for $135 million bucks. Now, even in today's world, $135 million theme park doesn't sound like much. But in 1955, when you hadn't done one before, this was unbelievable. This is all cutting edge, all new, and it was a major gamble. Walt Disney bet the company on Disneyland. He bet the company on Disneyland. So what he did was he borrowed everything he could, secured bank loans and bank lines from wherever he could get them, but he was still short of cash. He knew he was short and he needed to be fully funded. So he made a deal with ABC Television because his contract was up and ABC wanted to renew a new deal with Disney for another number of years of rights to broadcast the Disney program on Sunday nights because people were watching the show on ABC television and it was good for their ratings. It was one of their best shows, top rated shows. So ABC made a deal. The folks in New York with the American Broadcasting Corporation made a fantastic deal. They invested $500,000 into the park, not into Disneyland, but into the park. And then they guaranteed $4.5 million of additional loans for Disneyland's park to be built out. So this gave Walt Disney $5 million of cash to get at to complete the construction of his park. He had the other $10 million figured out. Now he was borrowing this $5 million against his television show on Sunday nights. And I think it was a 5-year contract, maybe a 6-year contract between the two. And so that's how Disneyland got financed and ultimately built out. Walt Disney finally had the cash secured to just go right ahead and build, because in his mind, the moment he could build the park and open it, it would be a cash flow generator. Money would come in the front door from ticket sales from all these families coming into Disneyland, and he knew that every time he came up with a new movie or something new, he would add to the park and adjust it, and it would evolve into a cash moneymaker. And he was right. In 1955, when the park opened, ABC Television had a live broadcast, coast to coast, hosted by Art Linkletter to open the park. And millions, tens of millions of people watched this show on live television of this incredible new thing, a theme park all about Disney and its characters. And it made families from across the United States want to go to Anaheim to see what this park was all about. So in the first 5 years, the park's popularity just soared, and the attendance soared, cash flow soared, and Disney made all the money back and much, much more. Now, ABC Television sold back to Disney the shares of the park in 1950, excuse me, I can use my glasses here. They bought the shares in 1954 for $500,000. They sold the shares back in 1959. 4 years later, ABC sold the shares back to Disney. They paid $500,000 for the shares originally. Disney bought them back for $7.5 million. 4 years, 15 times their money is what ABC Television Network made on just their investment in the park. Of course, the $4.5 million loans that Disney got, he paid those off, of course, long paid off. So that is how much money ABC Television made just buying into Disneyland for $500,000 in 1954. Shrewd investment, but many people turned Disney down, didn't want to do it. They were afraid they were going to lose everything. It was an unbelievable deal. In 1995, moving forward a number of decades, Disney ended up buying ABC Television by acquiring Capital Cities. And in 1995, Disney bought the entire network for $19 billion. Just see how massive this company became. And today, 2016, the Disney company is valued at approximately $92 billion. So if you invested in Disney stock when they went public way back when, you made a lot of money. But this just gives to show you how the park was once, the studio was once just a little studio, getting a television show on ABC TV, creating a theme park, and of course over time other theme parks, Disney World, and then around the world other parks, growing out into other areas, and eventually instead of the network helping Disney survive, Disney bought the network. And now Disney owns ABC Television as part of its overall media empire. They also own ESPN, and they own a number of other networks. It's an unbelievable turnaround story, and it continues to grow and grow and grow to this day. Absolutely incredible. I love the story. I love the Disney history. history of television. ABC television, of course, became one of the strong big three, and so by the time the other networks came along, they were all aspiring to be as big as ABC became. And we all know the history of ABC television, or maybe you don't, but you know, Monday Night Football was created on ABC in the 70s. Big gamble by ABC television, worked brilliantly for the NFL and for ABC TV. And the rest is sort of history, as they say. Anyway, there's a story for you for the day, a media story about how things changed from the 50s, the 60s to today. And this is just one example of two entities coming together and becoming even bigger than their sum. It's just amazing how ABC was the big boy, Disney was the little guy, and now it's the other way around. Disney is the big boy and ABC is a subsidiary of the Disney company. Incredible. I hope you enjoyed today's daily number 7, and please give me a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to my channel. It'll help me get promoted on YouTube, and I'll be found by more viewers. And I'll talk to you next time. This is Bruce saying goodbye. Traveling with Bruce. We'll see you.